let's start because
Okay, so we are not very many, but let's do a little workshop, at least 1 hour, because if there were more people, we thought of perhaps more, but if we are only this, we will do it on 1 hour. At least we'll do something. The book is not so big as in any case. Okay, so I leave you the floor, Ganit, for the moment.
well, I'll be very brief. Well, I usually ask the same question: who did not like the book? And then we can start from there. So, who did not like the book?
Okay.
Okay, well, everyone liked it.
No, no.
That's not good.
The microphone is not on for Rita and Rikele, so we need to wait for them to have the microphone at least. Otherwise.
Everyone has their microphone and everyone.
Everybody is able to answer at least. Yeah. Okay. The microphones are on. Okay. So.
Okay. Good.
The question.
Okay, no, so the question was whether someone did not like the book, and I understand that everyone liked the book. So maybe before, Monique, before you speak about the translation difficulties that you had, does anyone have any question that she wanted to ask, or something, a point that you wanted to raise regarding the book? Nothing. Did you see? Well, usually Kafka, when he writes about something, it's in order to a little bit, I think, he wants to raise a certain problem or a certain issue that he wants to enlighten. What did you think he wanted to show in this book? You have to talk.
Okay, I think that this is a very sad story that resonates with Animal Farm in some kind. But this book is better for me than Animal Farm, because this is more philosophy and about people, how to life goes.
In what sense it's more philosophical for you? What was the points that you found more?
I found that family and society need a person as long as it brings benefits, and otherwise he becomes a burden. And this is true in all life, usually.
Yeah, that's a story that it shows. I mean, that's a critic of Kafka against money and capitalism, I suppose.
Oh.
How the importance of money is, and people don't, because this what's his name, Gregor is an insect, so he cannot bring any more money, so nobody likes him. So for Kafka, it's called alienation. Alienation means in English, I don't know, strangership? No, alienation? Alienation? No, I don't know. It's people getting crazy because of money and no moral. They have no any moral anymore. It's only money, money, money. And this is in France, when I saw the interpretation on French website, it must have been, I suppose it's a left-wing website, which I found, and they are against capitalism. So they say it's a fault of capitalism, it's a fault of the money, who is the king. Money, a dollar is the king of everything. I mean, well, that's one view. Then on other, I didn't speak about translation. I just said that the interpretation on French websites and on English websites are not the same. And on English website, for instance, I had a kind of interpretation which only speaks about absurd. Absurd means absurdity. I mean, the absurdity of life of this some Gregor who had his life was as stupid before as when he was an insect. It didn't change. His life was nothing before and nothing afterwards. So it's called absurdity, which is another point of view. And there was a difference between the French and the English, what I wanted to mean. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that if you are also in the same situation, if you are not insect, but in elderly time, if you could not be useful for us.
For society, it's the same problem, absurdity.
Yes.
Or, yeah.
But why did he choose an insect? Why did he choose to make him an insect?
An ugly insect.
Yes, so sorry.
Actually, I think that, you know, most of the people do not have a kind of connection with insects. Like, we hate insects, or we are disturbed from the presence of an insect, and we want to throw them away, or we try to limit the contact. So if Kafka would decide to turn Gregor Zamza into I don't know, a cat or a pet, it will be like very caring, and people would show affection and emotion. But insect is something cold that definitely people don't have emotions and don't show a kind of empathy towards it. Actually, for the first time, why I joined this book club, actually, and thank you for sharing the invitation. Metamorphosis is one of my favorite books, and for the first time I have read it when I was in high school, because Kafka is one of my favorite writers, and he's an existentialist, of course. And I was waiting, to be honest, until the end for Gregor to be returned into a human being. And I got disappointed somehow. And then when I reread the book, actually, I think that I have been some kind of naive, to be honest, that I was expecting him to return into a human being again, because of knowing Kafka and the other book and the type of writing and literature that he does. Of course, that Kafka would have a kind of tragic endings to his book characters, as we have seen in the others, because this is how sometimes life is, actually, and it couldn't have another ending in Kafka style, I would say.
Yes.
There are two interesting things about what you said. One is that you know Kafka very well. I don't know him, so I would like you to, if you can have afterwards, enlighten some points that are very Kafkaic. But there is one thing that you said, that if it was a cat, then people would be more attached to it. But then doesn't it mean that actually somewhere it's not necessarily about capitalism? Because if all of a sudden it was a cat and we were all attached more, where would be the capitalism?
Yeah, and also the life of a cat is perhaps nicer than,
than an insect.
the life of an insect. I'm not sure. You can imagine, I know yesterday I had the dog of my son here, and sometimes I think he's happy, and the cats also, I suppose. I'm not sure an insect can be happy at any point. And this guy, Gregor Samsa, it seems that he was never happy in his life. So that's another issue. He was just he was okay. He had a mission. He had to support his family by working hard and doing nothing else than working. And he admitted his condition. And in fact, if he is a man or an insect, it doesn't change too much. But as an insect, of course, he cannot bring money. So that's a problem.
For me, it's a burnout story. Yeah, it's a man who has worked very, very much for her family, and it's breakdown. And there are, he is divided in two parts: a human brain and a form of insect. And there is no connection between his brain and between his body. He has a stupid body, and he tried to transform it, to move it, and he has accepted this form of body, but he represents now nothing, only an insect. Also, all family throw out. No, it's absurdity because it's not it's the end of him. He understands that it adds his end.
Elizabeth, your microphone is very far away, so it's quite difficult to hear you.
It's better now. It's better.
Well,
is it better? No.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit better, yeah.
She seemed to say that there is no connection between his mind and his body. I mean, he at the beginning he continues to think about when I didn't catch the train. What can I do? I mean, he doesn't think about his condition, his body. He doesn't care. He's just thinking, what is my boss going to do? What to think, and I need to get up and take the next train or whatever. I mean, all kind of things like that. So he doesn't care about his body. It's strange. Yeah. He's not. He was not happy before, and he's not unhappy. Yes, he doesn't show any sentiment. In fact, I suppose he likes his mother more or less and his sister. It's not very clear. Yeah, he likes his sister because he wanted to pay music lesson for his sister. So at least this, and that's the reason why at the end he will die, because he went out of his room to listen to the music of his sister, and he should not have gone out of the room because other people could see him, and then they were frightened. The people who are renting the rooms, they were frightened, and then because of that, they had to leave him alone in the room, and then he would die. And then that's the reason why he dies at the end. Nobody takes care. Yeah. So that's I don't know, the absurdity of life. That's for sure.
Rita, do you have anything? We see you only half face. Is there anything that you wanted? Oh, good.
Rita, yeah.
It's
Good.
okay, that's okay.
Yeah. So what did you think?
I think it's a problem of society and personality, or if this personality exists in the family, and this personality is heart mining, so it comes to such a problem. In short,
his personality.
Its personality is very, very touchy, very.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? This personality is very goes through the life with heart, and one day it comes to such a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
In very simple ways.
Some people say that in fact, his life before or after metamorphosis didn't change. His life he was poor before, poor on a human point of view. No sense in his life. There was no sense before, and there was no sense afterwards. So in that case, nothing changed.
And when you say his life, whose life? The character?
Gregor.
Okay. No, I thought maybe the writer, maybe no. Kafka.
His life is absurd from the beginning to the end. I mean, and the fact of being an insect doesn't change too much, besides the fact that, in fact, at the end, life is going to be better for other people, for the family, because they are pushed to work. They don't have the money from Gregor anymore. So they had to, and they had all kinds of solutions. They just didn't try to find other solutions because they were living like this with his money, with the money he was bringing, and and their life is going to be better. And his life doesn't change anything. It was a stupid life anyhow. So.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's it. Maybe it's not necessarily only about capitalism, but also about parasitism.
About
being a parasite.
A parasite, yeah. Parasite.
That sometimes you have people who are doing everything for you, so you become that dependent that you cannot even imagine that you can do on your own. Yeah. And that somewhere that it should be shared. The efforts must be shared. I think that's also maybe quite an important point in.
Or you take things for granted, let's say. So despite in the book that Kafka has written, there is no real emotional connection between the characters, let's say, because as you may have read, there isn't that their family cared too much about Gregor. They didn't care if Gregor was missing or if he feels bad or what was going wrong with him. It isn't that kind of affection that a normal family should have, that something maybe is going wrong with one of family members. So it isn't that kind of, let's say, classic or normal affection that should be happening between the normal family. So they see, as it was already discussed, they see him only as a kind of ATM, a kind of source of money, and that's it about Gregor. And moving into Kafka's style, actually, Kafka, of course, has in center the human at the beginning, and he puts the human and usually the main characters in a kind of absurd circumstances, as you saw Gregor, but even other characters actually. And then he somehow, let's say, hits the system, because at the end is the system one that affects or brings the human in that, let's say, suffering and disturbing condition. And as we saw here, it's not that you know, and it is a kind of symbol that he has used. It was not that Gregor himself or the system punished Gregor and he was then turned into an insect, but he was turned into an insect. And actually this it's a kind of symbolic use that someday something very unpredictable will happen to the human, and in a way or another the system has impact or has caused that. Kafka is a bit difficult actually to be analyzed.
Is it? Why is it difficult to analyze Kafka?
Because he uses like different styles. When you first read I like the comparison that Virgilia, did I spell it okay, mentioned at the beginning with Animals Farm of George Orwell, that you can see the animal farms at the beginning, that, oh, there's a farm and there are the animals, and then if you read it carefully, you see that they are some kind of hierarchies, and there is the kind of power and governing, and this is somehow even Kafka look. So if you read the book for the very first time, or if you see it like not in a depth look, you'll see just a man that one day was like turned into an insect and then he died, and that's okay. But if you see in the like in more depth view, you'll see that into that insect actually there is a lot of suffer, injustice, family avoiding, using, and isn't care about him as the normal values of the family should be, and also the system is, let's say, benefiting from him, is misusing him, and he sees himself only as an object, let's say, not as a slave, I would say, in a worse meaning, that what is going on with my work and things and such. So
just a moment, sorry.
no worries.
Keep on talking.
Okay. So
yeah,
yes, and that's why
I said parasite. It's also I think Kafka meant quite that all the other family are parasites, and they were parasites because they were eating the money. They were eating what Gregor was giving them. So they were living. He was working for the whole family, and they were parasites. So the name parasites is also from the anti-capitalist system in some way. But okay, that's one thing. But what is amusing that at the end they really they find they are that they accuse Gregor that because of them the people who were renting the rooms, because he came to to listen to the music, he came to the salon, to the living room, and these people, 3 people who were renting the room, they were afraid, and they said, oh no, it's not clean here, we are leaving you. And so the mother and the father and even the sister are accusing Gregor that because of him, because he came to listen to the music, the people who are renting the room are leaving. So at the beginning, the sister is quite nice with him because she brings him food, and at the end, she even accuses him, and she wants to kill him also. And she doesn't give him any more food at the end. Crazy. So it's so black. I don't know if there is something positive in all this book.
If you will read Kafka's, actually, they are very depressive books. Actually,
it's a depressing book.
Very
normally,
depressive.
there should be some positive. Something.
No. The first book, just not going out of Metamorphosis, because we are here from Metamorphosis, but the very first book that I read from Kafka was The Process, and it was about a man who one day just get a letter actually in his post mail, and the letter said that he would be executed. And he didn't know even what fault he has made actually, and why would he be executed. Just a letter that you will be in a judge process until people decide if you are guilty or not. And of course we are in a Kafka's world, that book, and he got executed, and until the end he didn't know what he had done, what was the Joseph, because the character is Joseph K, what has he done and why he got executed. So the Kafka's book are very depressive, but still a masterpiece, I would say.
They describe very precisely mankind, but there is no light at all at the end. No no positive thing, nothing positive. I don't know, perhaps there is.
And
Because
if you have,
I heard that Kafka was somebody who was who likes to joke. That's strange. I heard that somewhere. So he was perhaps in a daily life he was joking. I don't know, but his books are depressing for sure. But they had big success. So why did they have big success?
You did not feel you wanted to say something.
I said
something.
no. No, who? Elizabeth? No.
Yes, he accepts his situation. What is the sense of the end of the book? He accepts his situation. No revolt, no
revolt. Yeah.
No, he accepts. He subit.
He accepts his condition. Yeah.
Yes, he accepts completely his condition.
So that's so. In fact, perhaps it should show to other people that if you accept, if you don't revolt, your condition is going to get worse and worse. So perhaps the idea, indirect idea, is to show to people you should revolt. I mean, to show that it's so bad. Why can't he revolt? Why? Perhaps this is the indirect message. I don't know. Also for the castle, I suppose it's the same process. Le procès. I suppose it's the same. He shows the world so bad, and that people which should begin to think, it cannot be so bad. Something is wrong. We must revolt. I don't know. Perhaps. Perhaps it should induce some reaction. Perhaps it's the idea of Kafka, I suppose, because he's so well known. Everybody says Kafka. In all schools, we learn about Kafka, and so there must be something about it.
I think there is a lot, because there is always a certain meaning. It's not just stories.
Of course, there's a meaning.
I think that he was trying through the stories. I think that a lot of writers today, what they would try is mostly to tell a story or something. I think that he had an idea, and he constructed a story on the idea that he wanted to transmit, which I think, now I don't know if it's always like that, if all his books are, I must admit that I did not read other books of Kafka, so I don't know how it is, if it's always like that, but it seems that that's the point for him.
Yes, and actually if there would be a kind of hierarchy of Kafka's book to understand the whole philosophy of Kafka writing, the first book that everyone should read if wants to go into Kafka's, let's say, logic, understanding, and philosophy should be letters to his father. So actually, Kafka has had a very, let's say, abusive life, because his father has been like very abusive, violent, harsh to him, and Kafka couldn't rebel towards his father. He was, of course, afraid of him, so he found the way of, let's say, standing against his father through the thing that he was the best in, through writings. So he wrote some pieces of letters that now are gathered in a book, and sent them to his mother in order, but as far as I know, those letters were never read from his father actually to the real recipient, because his mother didn't share those letters with his father. But however, letters are one of the most famous one, actually, Letter to My Father or Letter of Fathers. I don't know the translation in English, how the book is exactly written. And they are, let's say, the intro to why Kafka, let's say, writes like that. actually. And even metamorphosis is a kind of, let's say, thought that in a way or another, Gregor Zamza is how Kafka was made to be felt from the abuse, violence, and offenses from his father, like an, let's say, useless insect.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, it's true that I think you wrote something in the discussion.
Yes, a very short, because as I said, I have now 6 years without reading Metamorphosis. So previously that I joined the meeting, I had a look at some of the resources in internet, and that was a kind of paragraph that make a short description of Kafka style. So very interesting one.
Yeah, I did also, but it's true that in a normal way we say if we have a situation which is very hard, we say, oh, it's Kafkaesque. It's true that it went over to the normal vocabulary, and if a situation is without any hope, I think. We use
not even without, it's not only without hope. I think, but when you say it's a Kafkaic situation, it's also, it's illogical. It's something that it's almost ridiculous how injustice, or so, I think that's how usually it became, actually it became a term, I think, a Kafkaic situation, no? It's like, it's, I think it's something that is extremely injustice and negative, or that's how I see it. And I think that, yeah, when you look at that, you say, well, at the situation in this book, it's like something that's so injustice and that's so ridiculous that no one would ever think about a situation like that. And I think that's what the term is about, which now we get to understand it maybe a little bit better even.
I read again what you put on the discussion. It's about nightmare, a nightmarish world, which is exactly the same. I mean, it's like a nightmare. You can imagine things like that in a nightmare, but not in reality. But in fact, there are situations which are not far from that, and yeah, in the true world, I'm sure there are. That's the worst thing. That in fact, perhaps not exactly that, but it's otherwise like somebody who is, let's say, keeping all these stories of a man keeping a child or not only a man, sometimes even the parents are keeping a child closed in a room, or crazy things. This is reality sometimes, and the neighbors don't know, nobody cares, and then 10 years later, for some reason, the police finds that this child has been 10 years kept hidden and mistreated, and you have so many cases like that of mistreatment in real life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think that we read more and more. The problem is that we read more and more about that because before you would not know that it happened.
Yeah.
Before we had internet and all those things were some kind of a local story.
Yeah.
Now we hear about it more and more, and we say, "Wow, that's not normal." So.
Yeah. It's because of the internet, because of the communication all over the world that you hear about crazy stories. Yeah. But anyhow, so we were discussing with Ganit the fact that what's the difference between a book club online and a book club when you are sitting together. And of course, we say that it would be nicer to sit together, but because we are in a pan-European activity, it's not really possible. but I think it's not so bad. The only thing is we perhaps have to find a, I don't know if we need to find a book which interests people, because I'm sure a lot of people did not come today because they didn't like the book. Not only, of course. A lot of people did not come because they begin to have other activities now because of the COVID is not leaving, but restaurants are opening. So people can go out and people stream out and they don't want to sit anymore at home. And that's the main reason why we have so little people. But of course, on another side, I don't know, we could have found perhaps another book. Ganit, you know much more about books. Should the book be nice or not nice in general?
Well, it's not a question of the book being nice or not nice. I think that it's well, it should be a book that will be liked or disliked by people. That makes always the conversation much more interesting. The thing is that you cannot know before who would like a book and who would not like the book. So I think it's an open thing. People should propose books, and then everyone votes, and that's the decision. It's very difficult to tell which book should be a good book club discussion and which one is not. I think that a good book club discussion, a good book club book would be one that is not short stories, for example. So there is one story of which you talk and discuss. But other than that, I think anything can go. So it's very difficult to get into the taste of everyone immediately. But the thing is that I think that it's very important also that people will understand that they should participate even if they did not like the book, because that's very important. It's very interesting to know if someone did not like the book, why the person did not like the book. It's absolutely legitimate not to like a book, even though it's a classic, even though even if it's someone who received Nobel Prize or something, or any other prize. I think it's absolutely legitimate not to like it, and I think that people have to come even if they did not like it.
Yeah,
because that
have to ask the people. In fact,
that makes the discussion very interesting, because then you have those who liked it and those who did not like it. And from my experience, sometimes you even change your opinion through the book, and then you say, well, actually, maybe with this point of view, I will finish the book.
Yeah.
You see, so I think that's the message that you should give other people, that even if they don't like the book, they should not feel uncomfortable to come, because it's okay. Even, yeah.
Now, the problem is if people just think before, oh, I don't like that book, I'm not going to read it. That's a big problem.
That's something else. But, you know, I could not tell you which one everyone would like to read and which one not, because we are coming from so many different cultures that I cannot tell whether I would like the same book as Elizabeth or Rita would like the same book as Michaela. So I think that people should be open to read something that they did not want to read, and they might find out that actually they like it, or that they know why they did not like it.
In fact, we should take a book which is less known, because Kafka, a lot of people know, and they say, oh no, Kafka, I don't want to read it. And before reading it, if you take somebody completely unknown, and for instance, you say, okay, this guy was a Nobel Prize in whatever, in Australia, or in a country way far away. So they say, okay, he was a country, so we should read it. At least we should try. It must be a little book, otherwise nobody's going to read it anyhow. But if it's too well known as being a sad book. No, people are not reading it. That's a
maybe you know, it might be that also. There are some books that I avoided reading, for example, this year, because I think that we had such a heavy year that, yeah, maybe it's not the best year to read something that is too heavy.
yeah.
We can try to choose something a little bit more imaginative, or something like I would propose either, for example, Garcia Marquez. Well, but I'm talking about things that I like. So afterwards, I think each person should read what.
Years of Loneliness, for example.
No, maybe not that. That's very long.
Yeah,
I think that he had a lot of stories about a lot of books that were quite interesting and quite well written, and that raise an interesting discussion. So that can be a possibility. I don't know if any of you read Salman Rushdie. For example, Midnight's Children. I would not propose verses of the Quran because I think it's too heavy. But I think that Midnight's Children is quite interesting. It's quite imaginative, a little bit mystic, so it can be quite good.
Or George Orwell, 1984.
I would wait until after the Animal Farms that not most people did not like.
Okay.
For some reason. You see, so maybe we should. Well, we can try to read something that is more recent, like, and that is not so far away from the idea. We can try that Handmaid's Tale, if someone wants to read that. It's very hard to read, so that can be, or any other of. Margaret Atwood, which is dystopian a little bit and a little bit different. So that can be also things that can be interesting. But afterwards, I think that interesting is very personal thing.
Yeah. Okay. In any case, we are going to meet. I mean, the Europe people are going to meet in person in September in Budapest, and so I think it would be a good. I should take a few minutes to talk to the people in front of us and tell them what do you think about a book club? Why didn't you come, or why?
Why won't you try to do that in September if you're all meeting physically? Why wouldn't you decide about a book that you would read, all of you, and have this one session of book club discussion in place, in presence?
Yeah, the problem is not, there will be a lot of people. I suppose, let's say there would be 30 or 40 people. And if only 10 people read the book, the other ones are going to make a sightseeing, and it's a problem for organization. Now,
I think it's part of the activities.
We are going to talk about basic topics about Eurorag, the future of Eurorag, and things like that. And future organization, are we continuing to make Zoom meetings or not, and so on. A basic question. So we could talk about book club and why people did not come. I think 2 or 3 told me that they are sorry that they didn't come. The guy from Hungary and the woman from Ireland, at least they said that they didn't come, as most people didn't say anything. So we'll see. Okay.
Well, it's up to you. You're managing the thing.
Yeah. I mean, we have to see. In general, it's not only about the book club. I don't know what's going to be with the English conversation meetings. They might continue, I suppose, but we have to talk in the Budapest meeting. I think it would be good, and to see what people really think, and we'll see. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so it was just, I think, a little tentative to make a second book club. I think it's always interesting and learns things from every tentative, even with, of course, even with a bad book or a good book, that's not the problem. The importance is the level of the discussion, or the people who are there and the people who, if they are interested. So that's much more important.
I think that the people who came were very interesting.
Yeah, sure, of
Thank
course.
you.
First, because they came. Okay, anyhow, good. Okay, so unless you have something to add, I would say that for this time we'll stop here, and I'll be in touch with Ganit. We'll see. I'll listen also from your experience, because Ganit continues to have workshops in her place, and I think now it continues once a month, or I don't know. It's in Paris.
It's always.
So we'll
Yeah.
see for autumn.
Sorry?
I'll keep in touch with her, of course. And thanks, of course, for being here and helping us organizing that. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks.
for all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If we don't talk to you before that.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.